Here's part 2 of our most recent Legal AI Live on LinkedIn. If you missed part 1, make sure to go subscribe at legalailive.com and check out our YouTube channel or Legal AI Live on any podcast app to catch part 1. Follow the Legal AI Live page on LinkedIn to watch us live. Without further delay, here's part 2.
For 13 years, I would go and speak to my high school, but started with their law club while I was in law school. And then I started to talk to their careers in law summer school class. And for 13 years, the talk was basically the same. It was pay attention to character and fitness and make good choices, right? Because that's the time to get them when they're still in high school, right? Let them know about, I think it was section 17 for Illinois for our character and fitness exam, make good decisions. And then all about what it's like to go to law school and study and prepare for the bar and practice and maybe start your own practice. This year, just a week ago, I threw out the whole talk. I have no idea what it's going to look like in 8 to 10 years when they're practicing law. I don't know what it's going to look like 2 years from now. So what the heck am I supposed to tell them? So I just showed them how to use Notebook LM to enhance their learning. And I was like, this is how I used to, this is a tool I use that you have access to, that I use to enhance my own comprehension at speed of complicated legal documents and create content from my content, my curated content for clients and biz dev and internal team learning. So we better be using these tools. I would require law students use these tools, but we have to guide them and teach them and show them how to use a tool like a Notebook LM that is free and doesn't cost them anything extra because they're in law school. But yeah, I'm very firmly in the camp of, if you're not requiring that they use AI, you're doing them a disservice. You have to do it the right way, though. Same thing with lawyers and legal work.
I agree. I think Kat might have been hinting around about it. It's not Wild West. You can use it carte blanche. It's maybe certain modules on it or certain tasks. Or I was on the New York Bar AI task force with a couple of deans of different New York law schools. And a couple of them were talking about how they went from bans to actually maybe having people compare that AI output to what they would have generated themselves, starting to kind of hone that ability to judge output. So not carte blanche, go for it, but, constrained so that they still do develop that judgment muscle and that subject matter expertise. Because again, we're dealing with LLMs. They're aimed at the general 2 billion people, not necessarily the niche couple 100,000 of the law students that are out there right now. And so you do have to kind of balance that.
I don't even know if we should be teaching typing, let alone writing, because I use Whisperflow to just talk to my machines now across all my machines. I was in the top 9% of Whisperflow users last month. So it's I just don't know. I don't envy the educators having to figure these things out because it's a really hard thing. But I don't know that there are certain things I can't survive in the woods by myself, right? I don't have skills. I can't farm my own food. Do we need to teach people how to farm their own food? I mean, pending apocalyptic thoughts. This isn't the PDoom Legal AI Live podcast. So I don't know what, judgment, discernment, but do you need to not use AI to get that? And I think, I don't know that you need to not use these tools to get that. I think using the tools can get you to discover what real discernment and judgment looks like faster.
I also have the question mark, and I've run into it more with CHROs and the talent side of law firms, not in law school. Law school, it's getting the foundation, but what do you do with that first to ninth year associate who maybe is got some of the tech acumen, but doesn't have the subject matter expertise and that discernment judgment component yet? How do you develop it when increasingly, I talk with a big tech AGC who's I'm not paying for that and that and that. And I'm like, well, that's a junior task where they usually cut their teeth. That's a junior task where they usually cut their teeth. So how are you going to expose the more junior lawyers to the type of skills that will develop that judgment and discernment that they need to use with the AI in an era where increasingly clients won't pay for them to do it? It's a real question mark. And obviously there's stuff I do, conferences and Kat Moon's Women in AI, but that's not everything. Is it training? Is it exposure? Right? Is it shadowing partners? Because we know they're going to want to spend all their time shadowing first years, clearly. I don't know. I think it's a bigger question than certainly a 1 hour chat, but it's one that's increasingly kind of not keeping me up at night, but definitely giving me a little bit of, we probably should figure this out.
Like, I don't wonder if Kirkland's announcement that they're going to spend $500 million building a model is potentially a response to the problem you're articulating, that, you know, you just mine decades and decades of legal expertise to create a discernment engine. That's
Maybe.
kind of dark. I mean, I feel like there still has to be room for human judgment, and, you know, that would just completely take it out of the equation.
Yeah, I don't know. And like that kind of gets into the whole, buy, build, partner component. Like it's interesting. It's all the questions we've always asked. Like, how do you bake a lawyer? How do you develop tools and technology? How do you create efficiency? What do you do with the billable hour? They're all the same questions I was asking 20 years ago, but now there's like an urgency because of like the hyper pressurized moment we're in because of AI. And I'm sure it's a good thing, a bad thing, and everything in between, but it's really interesting because these aren't new conversations. It's just very much more urgency than you usually hear.
So what do you think? What do you all think about this idea that, okay, so yeah, it was mentioned early on before everyone was on, Fable is out now, Fable 5 powered by Mythos. So my apologies to Microsoft about your new video game release, Fable, because that's the wrong Fable that's getting coverage right now. But like, using the most powerful models for every single little tiny little thing, right? So it's like you have a lot of snake oil salesmen out there right now and like hype up people that are like, you got to use this. You need a battleship, right? You need, especially as a lawyer, like you need a battleship. You need to be using Claude Code and getting in there and vibe coding and doing all these things. It's like, no, like you need a speedboat. Perplexity Enterprise will take you all of the way there. You don't need to be vibe coding and doing all these things inside of Claude in your terminal. Right? You don't need to figure out how to use your terminal. It's not necessary. What do you all think about that?
Sometimes the answer is Excel, right? Like sometimes like the best tools, like I do worry because like, and I've been talking about machine learning and stuff for 20 years, like we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are some tools that aren't the most cutting edge Mythos, vibe codings, Uber mensch of the universe that can do stuff really well. And so I think it's like, we've got to really analyze, like, do we need a torpedo that can, blow up 15-mile radius, or am I looking for something really precise that's just task-based and be honest about it? Otherwise, we're going to cook all the oceans.
And then, Kat, any thoughts on this before you have to jump? And then, Greg, we'll go to you.
So I observed that a lot of what I see on LinkedIn are edge cases, right? I don't think they're at all representative what the average lawyer somewhere in the US sitting in their office with their laptop open to Microsoft Word is doing. And I would actually bet that most of them are still opening a Word doc and hitting save as and making changes based on the client they have in front of them to the document they used in the last client who needed that particular agreement. So I think folks should be trying all kinds of stuff. I think corporate firms should be trying all kinds of stuff. What works for Kirkland might not be what works for somebody else, right? My real concern, to be honest with you, is that there's no real clear vision or target for the experimenting and what we're doing. Like, what is the future we want to see? And it's very possible that a large corporate law firm that's used to earning billions and billions of dollars, when you look at what Kirkland earns on an annual basis, the amount they're putting towards this really is not terribly interesting at all. But that aside, maybe the model they're building is assuming that they're going to hire very few new lawyers. And ultimately, they're not going to hire young lawyers. They're going to hire experienced lawyers. And what do we think about that, right? Like, everybody is building towards some future that they have identified. Maybe they're just reacting. I think a lot of people are just reacting, but I don't think we can assume that the future that Kirkland and Ellis is building towards is a future that we're going to want for our students. And so I think we need to be paying a lot more attention to that, frankly. I don't know what we do about that, but ultimately, a for-profit law firm is going to make decisions about how they form new lawyers, not because they give a shit about how new lawyers are formed, but because they have a profit margin and target they wish to reach. It's a business. And yes, I'm cynical, but I'm realistic. And I don't think anyone is likely to prove me wrong, but I welcome it. Prove me
Thanks.
wrong.
Yes, yes, and thank you for your commentary. Thanks for joining us while you can, and for giving us maybe our first explicit tag. So thank you, Kat.
Well,
Greg,
yeah, to me,
go ahead, Greg. Your thoughts.
Oh gosh. So I guess back to the original question about Fable. I like using it in the command line. That's just my personal taste, but it consumes an enormous amount of tokens and it's very slow. And so a lot of the times when you're trying to iterate on something and you want to move fast, something like Sonnet is actually just a better interface to what you're trying to accomplish. So, different tools for different purposes.
I was literally having this conversation with the gal that does our marketing. She's like, oh, there's a new model. I should use that when I'm building all of our integration. I'm like, why? Then when you're going to run out of tokens and have to wait an hour, just use kind of the fast and dirty. Like if you were vibe coding something, you're not, don't worry about it. But I think that's right sizing it. Like we keep going, shotgun when maybe it's like a little bit more precise, or again, Excel does a lot of heavy lifting. Do I love it? No, but there are some kind of less high compute tools that might get you part the way there.
Nick, your thoughts on this question?
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever tool's best for the job, right? Like we're not seeing anybody launch the AI version of DoorDash, right? We're not seeing somebody launch the AI version of Uber. Are they using AI in there? Sure, but the tool works for what it needs already, right?
I just take a Waymo, so that might be
Waymo, different issue. Don't. Those are facts, not in evidence here, Kat. Don't ruin my metaphor here.
Uber is actually selling AI intelligence now. I don't know if you've heard.
I believe
the ads.
that. I believe that.
Yes.
But in its standard, most utilized version,
Correct. Yep.
It is still what it's been doing for 15 years. So, you don't always need the newest, fanciest. I've not been so impressed with Fable yet. Like I love to put the bots together or the apps together working on stock analysis or investment analysis stuff. I love it. 4.8 actually uses up-to-date information. Fable was like 2 or 3 weeks off for actual financial information as of yesterday. It was like none of the information it gave back to me was correct. And that was not using it in Claude Code version, right? That is just straight chat. In Claude Code, I always seem to blow through tokens so fast that I really have to decide with Claude Code what project I want to do. And is it a project that I want to do? Is it a low enough lift project that I'm not going to blow through my tokens? Because I do have quite a few Claude Code started projects that I haven't finished because it's like, okay, I see that this is like I fly too close to the sun when I start doing it, right? And so I immediately go, oh man, I ran out of tokens. Now I got to, and then that screws up the rest of my day for what I would use it for normally anyway, right? So, and then I have this project. I go, okay, do I want to go through a whole nother day's worth of tokens again on this project, or do I need to work on something else? So, and I'm just not yet willing to increase my monthly budget for it, right? So that is where I'm like, okay, it may be 4.6, as Greg mentioned, or maybe Sonnet is going to solve the problem for me, right? As opposed to Fable. So that's been my experience thus far with Fable. I expect it'll get better.
Natalie, you're
doing bots versus bots, like different models within your tools, different platforms, like always A/B test it. Creative stuff I'm going to do better in OpenAI, more like hard compute tends to be better with Anthropic, and like retest it, like test your assumptions. If you're not going in that drop down menu and toggling up and toggling down on your models, you're missing out. Sorry, Natalie.
Well, I mean, I'm in kind of a different situation professionally than I think everyone here in terms of just what I do.
That's why we're happy to have you. That's why we
Well,
want
just
you here.
in terms of what I do on a day-to-day basis. So what I need is not like necessarily the newest model or vibe coding at all. It's just a really, really sophisticated legal research tool. And, working at a university, fortunately, I have that, several versions of that. Could I dive into the newest tools? Could I create new things? Could I learn a lot of different things that AI is facilitating? Yeah, sure. Would it be fun? Absolutely. Do I have the time for it? Not really, because it's not mission critical to the work that I'm doing in terms of legal research and writing. Maybe it will be at some point, but it's just not now. But yeah, colorful.
This is I'm actually in the same camp, Natalie. As much as I love using AI, I'm like, I don't care what model does what thing in what way. That's why I pay Perplexity. Like, let Perplexity figure that out for me, right? Like let them do that. And by the way, it was brought up the whole ironclad thing. I think Kat, you brought that up when you first came on. I'm like, hey, Arvind, I'm over here in the legal industry trying to get everybody on the Perplexity team. So hey, yes, I do have a new legal tech startup, but also maybe just do an early acquisition and I'll come and just help you build out the legal stuff at Perplexity. I'm just throwing that out there into the ether. I think it's the best tool out there.
Just excited that there's actually a human I know related to legal that I can point to. Because like when I think of Anthropic, I don't know who's building it. I don't know what legal minds they're using to kind of determine their workflows and their integration. And even if I look at the NPCs they picked, like they don't have Bloomberg, Lexis, and Westlaw in there. Like there's some like question marks I have. It's good to at least, and I love Anthropic and Claude. It's not throwing them under the bus, but it's good to know someone like from in the tribe is helping to run what's going to disrupt our legal tech ecosystem. Show me more humans I can at least talk to. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What do you think? Why?
Yeah. So I'll say that we only have enough time maybe for one more time around. I want to hear from everybody some cool things that they're doing or that they think are cool, or like ways that maybe it's just tried and true how you're using AI. Like even Natalie, if you've just been using the same tools for months or a year, like the audience does tune into this because they're like, oh, like I want to know, like, do they try a new experiment? And yes, we talked a little bit about Fable, but like specifically, if you could point to anything. So I'll vamp a little bit more to give you time to think about what you want to say. Most recently, I spoke at Legal Geek, and I gave 2 talks, and they were actually a expansion on Kat, what I did for Masters AI in Chicago on curation and taste your superpowers.
Yeah.
There was not an empty seat to my talk on why human intelligence still matters, which is a related topic, and then the workshop about how to do that. And so what I've showed people how to do without costing tokens, just your annual or monthly subscription with tools that are very reasonably priced, Perplexity Enterprise at $400 a year, Google Workspace at $14 a month per seat. In the comment browser, you could create an agentic workflow. And this is what I've been doing and what I've been teaching lawyers most recently. I'm here at an AI think tank where I just taught this to some lawyers in New Jersey, New York area, is in comment browser. You open up a group tab where you have your preferred research or analysis legal thinking partner. For me, that's Paxton. For you, it could be Claude or whatever, Lexis or Westlaw or whatever, right? Whatever AI tool you like to use. And then in that group tab, you have your document. If you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, it's a Word doc. If you're in the Google ecosystem, it's a Google Doc. And then what you tell your Perplexity AI assistant to do is you say, look at my last chat with my legal analysis AI tool. And you have to tell that legal AI analysis tool, I would need you to put this in a format where it tells another AI tool exactly where to go and redline this document and where it needs to replace the language that we've already agreed on. So then you tell that to the AI assistant, look at that chat, go redline it, or use suggested edits if you're in Google Docs like me, and then it will proceed to redline the document exactly following the instructions based on the analysis of the other tool that you gave, while you go run that a dozen more times. It's a total game changer. So that's my biggest unlock recently that I've been teaching other lawyers. Anybody else want to go?
Mine's not a lawyer unlock, but I'll riff on the kind of building like presentations. I finally discovered how to make decks not hideous using AI. I make the outline, the structure, the format, like from my brain. I do a voice to text dump into Anthropic, but then I make OpenAI make pictures for me. I don't have it render it in PowerPoint. I have it actually make a visual image that then I can kind of modulate in Claude. And for me, it's easier than Gamma. It's just a quick time save. So every time I'm presenting stuff internally, any of my visual documents, like that's why the bot versus bot stuff is really important. Cause like anytime I tried to make anything with either of them or with Gamma, it kind of sort of worked, but not really. And so it was just a little like an easy thing. So I think the more easy little things you can find for your day-to-day, the better.
I'll never make a PowerPoint again. I'll never make a slide deck again. I refuse. Mine were never pretty to begin with. So I had to echo what you were saying, Kat. Like I had to create one and I did it in Claude in 90 seconds. I put in the information that I wanted in a project, told it to turn it into better looking than anything I ever created on my own in PowerPoint. And it was in 90 seconds rather than, oh, I've got to set the afternoon, I've got to set the afternoon aside to do a PowerPoint. So I will never. That was a miserable experience, if you ask me, for most of my life since we created PowerPoint. So that I'll never do again. I've been just earlier today, the other thing that I've been using was I just added one Claude Legal connector to mine with Trellis, and really excited about Trellis Legal, or Trellis Research, I think they're called. But I used their connector. Really great way for us to be able to review like expert witness reports, things like that. So in fact, they did a social media post about experts because we got into a conversation yesterday on social. And so they did this one for me, and I was like, oh yeah, that's compelling. Seeing that use case made me go and immediately do the connector. And now I'm going to go through, and most of the time for the listeners, I'm not a practicing lawyer. I went to law school, but I've never practiced. So for a lot of the Claude Legal, it has not applied to me. So I thought, okay, this I can see applying to my business. And so I'm going to definitely go through more of the Claude Legals just to see, or more of the Claude Legal connectors to see what else of value that I may, be missing out on. Because certainly legal data is always important for me in my business, but not usually those tools that are sold to lawyers are generally, I'm not the target audience. So this though is really, really quite impressive. Thank you.
Greg or Natalie, if any of you have an itch to go and talk about how you've been using it.
Well, this kind of dovetails, I think, with that PowerPoint conversation, but I've been using Claude Code in particular for Encodex for data visualization. And
Yes. Oh, yes.
because they can use code to like generate the images. It's not like just generating a one-shot image. And so you can really dial in the look and feel of what you're going for, and that generate pretty consistent outputs. I've been really impressed with it. So yeah, that's been a game changer for me.
I'd love to see for data visualization for damages in a litigation suit, right? Like that'd be fascinating to see what it comes up with. Natalie, any cool things you want to share about how you're using AI tools lately?
In the most boring way imaginable. I mean, like I said, like I'm using Lexis with Protege. I'm using Harvey with Lexis. Like I'm using simple tools to just iterate on different pieces of content that I'm working on, or trend spotting, or, research design, and kind of high level thinking about how research projects fit within each other. Boring, but.
You say boring, but like I'm on the road a lot and I talk with thousands and thousands of attorneys. We are so in the bubble, we don't realize how advanced we are compared to, I'd say, north of 90%, 95% of attorneys. Like just saying I'm stacking multiple bespoke and foundation models for legal research, like you're in the 1%.
I will add, because I think Kat agreed with me here, and Matthew, we may have discussed it in a previous episode, but one day I asked people, and I'm going to do it again soon, I asked people to, recommend people for the podcast on LinkedIn. And I got a ton of responses, and I was like, I really need to build a spreadsheet for this. And I was like, it's a nightmare from a bunch of different references on a post on LinkedIn. So I pulled up Claude in the Claude extension, and I was like, review this post only, put the names, company, title, and LinkedIn profile for each of the people who've been, and it was done in like 5 minutes, and it was awesome. It's just it's such an easy use case.
I even did it 30,000 people on LinkedIn, and I wanted to know who's there. I did the CSV download of my entire LinkedIn network, and I was like, by title, by background, by geography, because like I just wanted to see like who am I talking to? Am I shouting in the void? And like I've been trying to do this for the 20 years I've been on LinkedIn, and there's no way to do it. Half hour, it extracted it, and it was like, oh, did you see this correlation, this geography, XYZ? And I got rid of a couple people. I'm like, I don't think I need, I think it was like HR support in Uzbekistan or something absurd, but like,
Yeah, yeah, and just Google Sheets in Google in Workspace does, like, Gemini built into that does an amazing job organizing spreadsheets like that, just baked in natural language. Like 6 months ago, didn't work. Works
No.
beautifully today. Like, it's just the rate of change is unbelievable. We got a really good question here. We've only got a few minutes left, but I'm curious to know, Kelly Raker. Thanks everybody for chatting in. By the way, it was going so fast and we were having a great conversation. I couldn't ask all the questions, but this is a great one to end on. Think about tasks that you will only do with AI and never again on your own, like Nick's example of making a slide deck. And while you think about your answer to that question, I'll just say, for me, it's almost like I'm trying to use AI for everything I do.
Mhm.
And like I don't want to just use my human intelligence anymore. I start with human intelligence and then I always enhance with AI and go back and forth. So I'm thinking, like, where could I use AI if I'm not using it? So for me, the answer is everything.
Mhm. I can't think of anything where I wouldn't say, let me at least take a swag at it. And I have to run because I forgot I'm supposed to be on another call right now. But thank you guys.
Thank you. Here's one for you, Kelly. Task that you'll never have to do again. It was the first task I did with Claude Code, and I just had Claude take control of my computer, open up a reservation at a restaurant for 2 on Saturday night, and told it to go ahead and book the restaurant. And honestly, I probably should go back to that one and turn it into a skill and make it audio controlled, and then I'll never have to do that again.
For me, it's setting up an initial spreadsheet, whether in Excel or Airtable. I will never do that by hand, first iteration, ever again.
All right, Greg, anything you'd love to do again?
I think your answer, I kind of gravitate toward that, just everything. I just go to AI first and see if they can do a better job than I can. And, if not, then I'll default to doing it manually.
Yeah, and so that's a wrap. I'll say goodbye and where they're at. Kat Moon with Vanderbilt, Kat Casey with Masters AI, and then if we want, let's do Greg, Nick, and we'll end with Natalie. Natalie, you could take us out for where you all are at, just in case people wanted to follow, connect, or look at what you're working on. Greg, we'll start with you.
Oh, okay. You can follow the think tank I run at the AAA at AAAICDRinstitute.substack.com.
Link Nicholas Rishwain, I think, or at Rishwain on LinkedIn, and LegalTechLive.com for the podcast on a broader beyond just AI, experts.com if you need an expert witness.
And I'm Natalie Ann Knowlton on LinkedIn and Natal Alley Cat on every other platform.
And this has been another Legal AI Live. I'm Matthew Kurbis, the subscription attorney and CEO of Practi. If you want to catch past episodes, it's really hard to find on LinkedIn. So you could just go to legalailive.com or search Legal AI Live on YouTube and catch past episodes. And if you're tuning in like right at the very end and you want to catch the beginning of this and have a more user-friendly format, YouTube's probably the best place to go for that. So with that, folks, thanks everybody for joining us today. We're now going to go off live.